the corridors with chatter and footsteps. For most people, it was an empty, quiet building. But for Maria Gomez, the school's longtime janitor, it was her world, her place of pride, her livelihood, and the one spot where she felt her hard work truly meant something. Every day, she arrived before sunrise, pushing her cleaning cart with a smile that didn't reflect the exhaustion in her body. She was small in stature, soft-spoken, and never complained, even though life had handed her more struggles than most people ever knew. Her husband had died a few years earlier from a sudden illness, leaving her alone with bills, responsibilities, and a tiny brown and white dog named Daisy, the one creature who had stayed by her side through every hardship. Daisy came with her to work every morning. The school allowed it because everyone loved the little dog, who trotted cheerfully behind Maria, wagging her tail at teachers and students, everyone except one person. Ethan Crow. Ethan was a senior, a martial arts prodigy, and a black belt who had dominated tournaments since he was 12. His confidence had grown into arrogance, his strength into intimidation. He loved attention, feared nothing, and saw the quiet janitor as someone he could mock without consequence. No one ever intervened. No one ever challenged him. Until one day, someone did. It happened on a cold Friday morning. Maria was wiping down the glass doors at the gym entrance while Daisy lounged lazily on the floor beside her. The sky outside was a deep blue, and a thin layer of frost coated the ground. Maria hummed softly as she worked, unaware of the heavy footsteps approaching. Ethan emerged from the gym, his duffel bag slung over his shoulder and sweat dripping down his face. He looked annoyed, as if losing a fight with his temper rather than an opponent. The moment he spotted Maria, he smirked. "Cleaning again," he said mockingly. "You'd think after so many years you'd have figured out how to keep this place clean." Maria kept her eyes down. "Just doing my job, Ethan. And the dog," he added with a disdainful glance. "Why do you even bring that mutt? It's a school, not a pound." "She's quiet," Maria said softly. "She doesn't bother anyone." "Yeah, well, she bothers me." He nudged Daisy lightly with his foot, trying to scare her. Daisy whimpered and scooted closer to Maria's leg. Maria's heart tightened, but she stayed calm. "Please don't," she said quietly. Ethan stepped closer. "What are you gonna do? Call security?" Before Maria could answer, Daisy barked once, startled by the raised voice. Ethan's reaction was immediate and vicious. He kicked her. Not hard enough to break bones but hard enough to send her yelping in pain across the floor. Maria screamed, "No, Daisy!" The sound echoed through the empty hallway, and for a moment, the world seemed to freeze. Ethan stood over the trembling dog, his face unmoved, as if he'd just kicked a piece of trash rather than a living creature. "You should keep your animal under control," he said coldly. But before Maria could speak, before she could even reach her injured dog, another voice came from behind Ethan. "That's enough." Ethan turned. A man stood by the lockers, broad-shouldered, calm, and unmistakably dangerous without even trying to be. His posture was relaxed, but his gaze was sharp. He wore a navy blue jacket, military-style boots, and carried himself like someone who had spent years staring down real threats. Maria recognized him immediately. It was Jake Ramirez, the substitute security trainer who had arrived the previous day to evaluate the school's safety protocols. What the? Students didn't know, but teachers whispered about in awe. Was that Jake was a former Navy SEAL, recently retired after serving in some of the most intense missions overseas. "You don't get to hurt animals," Jake said, stepping forward. "Not here. Not anywhere." Ethan scoffed. "Who are you? Some rent-a cop?" Jake didn't flinch. "Walk away." "That your dog?" Ethan asked mockingly. "Or are you just playing hero for the janitor?" Jake took another step forward. "I said walk away." Ethan wasn't used to being challenged. And he wasn't going to let someone make him look weak. He dropped his duffel bag and squared his shoulders. "You think I'm scared of you? I'm a black belt. I compete. I don't care." Jake's voice was firm. "You hurt a defenseless woman's dog. That says everything I need to know about you." The air crackled with tension. Ethan lunged first. A fast, aggressive punch thrown with the confidence of someone who'd always been the strongest in the room. But Jake wasn't just strong. He was trained. He sidestepped effortlessly, letting Ethan's momentum carry him off balance. Jake didn't hit back. He didn't need to. He simply shifted his weight, redirected Ethan's arm, and sent him tumbling to the ground with a movement so controlled and precise that it barely looked real. Ethan scrambled back to his feet, furious and embarrassed. He threw another punch, another miss, another smooth redirection. Within seconds, Ethan was breathing heavily while Jake hadn't even broken a sweat. "That's enough," Jake said again, firmly. "Violence isn't strength. Compassion is." Ethan froze, his fists trembling. Something in Jake's voice, something calm, unshakable, cut right through his anger. He staggered backward, confused, defeated, and for the first time in a long time, humbled. He grabbed his bag and stormed out of the hallway. Silence settled again. Maria knelt beside Daisy, cradling her injured dog with shaking hands. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Baby, are you okay?" "Oh God, Daisy." Jake approached slowly, kneeling beside her. "She's scared, but I don't think anything's broken," he said gently. "We should get her checked to be safe." Maria looked up, her voice trembling. "Thank you. I don't know what would have happened if you didn't step in." Jake smiled softly. "No one hurts someone who can't defend themselves. Not on my watch." He helped her stand and even carried Daisy to the car so Maria could rush to the vet. The dog would be okay. Just bruised, just frightened. But something deeper had changed that morning. Word of what happened spread quickly. Ethan's reputation crumbled, not because he lost a fight, but because people finally saw who he really was. And surprisingly, that fall from power became an unexpected turning point. That afternoon, after school, Ethan appeared at Maria's house. His usually proud posture was gone. He stood on her porch with his head bowed, holding a small box of dog treats in one hand. Maria hesitated before opening the door. Jake happened to be there too, checking on Daisy's condition. He watched silently as Ethan swallowed his pride. "I'm sorry," Ethan said simply. "For everything. What I did was wrong." Maria blinked in surprise. She'd never heard him sound sincere. "I don't know why I get so angry," Ethan continued. I thought winning fights made me strong. But after today, I realized how weak that makes me look. I hurt your dog. I scared you. I'm not proud of any of it." Maria softened. She looked at Daisy, who sniffed the air curiously from her blanket. Jake spoke gently. "Strength isn't about beating people. It's about protecting them. You've got the skills. You just need to learn what to use them for." Ethan nodded, ashamed but listening. "Can I make it right somehow?" he asked. Maria looked at him for a long moment. Then she said quietly, "Help someone. Not because you're told to. Because you choose to." That marked the beginning of a transformation Ethan never expected. Over the next weeks, he volunteered at the local animal shelter. He helped Maria clean the gym after practice. He apologized to teachers, students, even strangers he had intimidated without thinking. Slowly, he became someone people didn't fear, but respected. One day, Maria found him teaching a group of younger kids martial arts in the school gym. But instead of focusing on fighting, he taught them control, discipline, confidence, and kindness. He taught them the lesson he had learned the hard way. Jake became his mentor, guiding him in self-discipline and emotional strength. Ethan stopped competing for trophies and started competing against the worst parts of himself. And gradually, he won. Months later, Daisy would wag her tail whenever she saw Ethan. He always knelt to pet her gently, careful not to scare her. Maria's life changed too. The school recognized her years of hard work. Staff organized a small fundraiser to help with her financial burdens. Students greeted her with smiles, not indifference. And the quiet janitor who had once felt invisible began to feel seen. Jake eventually moved on to his next assignment, but before he left, he told Ethan something he would carry forever. "You're not defined by the worst thing you've done. You're defined by what you choose to become after." Ethan nodded, understanding finally what true strength meant. And as Maria watched her once fearful dog happily wag her tail beside the boy who had hurt her, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Because kindness, like cruelty, was a chain reaction. And all it took was one act of courage, one moment of compassion, to change the direction of someone's life. And perhaps, she thought, that was the real power of humanity, not in how loudly we fought, but in how deeply we cared.